Dear students, in this session we are going to talk about or we are going to discuss tools of data collection in survey research. While carrying out survey research, we collect primary data either through observation or through direct communication with our respondents. Direct communication can be sought through questionnaires or in face-to-face situation through interview schedules. The most commonly used instruments of data collection in survey research are observation, interview, where we talk to interviewee, we ask them questions and then receive their responses, or we observe things and then record them. And third is questionnaire is used. We distribute questionnaire and ask our respondents to fill it up and return. So again, most commonly used instruments or tools of data collection in survey research are observation, questionnaire, or interview. So we will discuss each one of them one by one in detail. Let's take observation. So observation can be instrument in collecting data in quantitative research. In observation, information is gathered by a researcher himself or herself by observing or making observations in the field and finally recording them. Observation becomes a scientific tool for data collection for a researcher when it serves as a formulated research purpose. It has to be systematically planned, recorded, and subjected to checks and controls on validity and its reliability. Apart from simple and participant observation, observation can be structured, which can be referred to as systematic observation, where researcher employs explicitly formulated rules for the observation and recording of behavior. These rules are laid out in observation notes as part of the schedule to be administered in the field. Unstructured observation doesn't require the provision of space for observation notes, for recording of behavior, or it can be any other noticeable information to make the data rich. The main advantage of observation is that it is independent of respondents' spoken or conveyed responses because a researcher records things himself or herself. It also provides information about what is happening at the time of data collection and not complicated by past behavior or future intentions. But the limitation of this method is that the information collected is very limited sometimes and biased if the person collecting the data is not well trained or person who is providing information is not giving you accurate information. The main advantage of observation is that it is independent of respondents' spoken or conveyed response. We have already covered this. Let's talk about interview. What is interview? In this, data is collected through presentation of oral verbal stimuli and the responses also through the same mode of oral verbal communication. The interviewer is physically present for data collection, asking questions in a face-to-face situation. The interviewee, one who is answering questions, who is the primary source of information. Responds to the questions posed to him or her by the interviewer. This is known as direct personal investigation. It can also be through indirect oral examination, where the interviewer has to cross examine persons who supposedly have information about the issue under research. Interview is conducted through some stages. First is introduction. First of all, the interviewer introduces himself or herself. You cannot go and start asking questions. First of all, you need to introduce yourself if you are going to interview someone. Inform about the organization that is conducting a research, that I am from this and this. Share how and why the respondent has been chosen, why they have been chosen to ask questions to get record for our report purposes, and how much time will be required to complete the process. Like we need 45 minutes, we need 20 minutes, etc. So you need to tell them everything properly before starting interview. It is important to inform the respondent about the confidentiality of the information given for the research purpose. This is the main component, asking questions and recording responses. This is the main component of an interview where the interviewer asks appropriate questions. So, but when you ask questions, it is also important to maintain a comfortable pace and show interest in it in the process so that the respondent feel comfortable and motivated to share the information on his or her views. Because it is possible if he or she is not motivated, if not comfortable, they will not provide you the proper information. So, a skilled interviewer would know how and when to probe the respondent to obtain a complete and relevant response. For example, if you go to ask someone for interview, or he or she is in a hurry, whether they will give you correct response if they are in a hurry. No. First of all, you need to talk to them, you need to introduce, you need to tell them that we need 20 minutes, we need 30 minutes for interview purpose. Make them feel comfortable. Only then you can start interview. Another skill on part of the interviewer is to recognize irrelevant and inaccurate answers and bring the interview process on the desired track. Sometimes it becomes difficult to terminate the interview on a positive note. This will make the respondent feel good about his or her contribution toward the research and also motivate him or her to be proactive. If another occasion of the same type arises in future, now interview can follow structured or unstructured format. There are two formats for interview, structured or unstructured. In a structured interview, an interviewer uses a set of predetermined questions to gather data, and the responses are recorded using highly standardized techniques. This is a useful tool to collect data for descriptive studies. The interview is conducted using a pre-designed format which is called interview schedule, a pro forma containing a set of number of questions. An interview schedule consists of questions that are completed by the interviewer based on what the respondent says. Surveys can consist of two basic types of questions, open-ended and closed-ended. Open-ended questions enable the researcher to gather elaborate information on the questions posed to the respondent. It can also document feeling of the respondents and motivates behind their answers. The answers to the open-ended questions can suggest answers that the researchers may not have foreseen and express possible relationships with other variables. Like, do you like newspaper? or if you like then which newspaper. This closed-ended question does not give much information because they are simply yes or whether you like this, whether you don't like. So they are closed-ended. Here, a respondent doesn't get an opportunity to express his or her views. So it doesn't provide much information. So the closed-ended questions do not give much information about newspapers reading habit of the respondents, but enables researchers to quickly understand the number of newspaper readers among the respondents. At times, researcher uses a semi-structured schedule that contains both closed and open-ended questions, depending on the trend or depth of information required. Bryman outlines some rules that can be kept in mind while designing an interview schedule. First is seek information about background variables to put the respondent at ease and set the pace for gathering research related information. In an interview schedule, questions should be grouped into sections to have a better flow of thoughts for the respondents. Within organization, general questions should come before asking specific questions. In an interview schedule questions should be grouped into sections to have a better flow of thoughts for the respondents. Within each session, general questions should come before asking specific ones. Research questions directly related to the topic of research should be posed in the early part of the interview, so that in case the respondent devoids and develops lack of interest in participation, crucial information has already been gathered. It is also recommended that questions dealing with opinion and attitude should be asked before posing questions related to behavior and knowledge. It is believed for that behavior and knowledge questions are less affected by questions order than questions that tap opinion and attitude. If there is a long list of possible answers, reading it out may be tedious for the interviewer. Also, it will be difficult for the respondents to concentrate on all the possible choices. Respondents are iterated, it is to hand out a list of options possible.